Hello, Graham Roberts here. Welcome to part 2 of the tutorial to show how one could capture key events on a form in Java, and we're using NetBeans IDE. We could be using Eclipse or some other IDE. Well, the next thing we have to do really is work out how to get a panel onto our form and how to capture the key events. Well, there happens to be an interface called Key Listener, and so what we're going to do is implement that. We're going to implement the Key Listener, and we're going to see some complaints from the IDE because it doesn't know what Key Listener is. We can add Key Listener by adding an import for it, and we can see it pops up there. We have a complaint again, and the reason for this is because it actually wants the abstract methods inside this class, and we can get it to do it for us, which is right kind of it, which is what it's done. So now underneath the main method we have an overridden key typed method and some throw some exceptions. They're not completely necessary, but they're there automatically for us. The one we're going to be using, of course, is this one here. So I'm just going to move that into position where we can more readily see it, just for convenience. Right, so we've got our key listener handlers for the key pressed event and others which we're not going to use, but we need to keep them because it's an interface. The next thing we need is to be able to put a panel down a screen. Well, we can't put a screen down until we actually have a form. The panel is going to be contained by the form, that is by the Jframe, so we really need to use inheritance here and make our class key events form tutorial a subclass of a Jframe, and we do that using the extends keyword. So we're going to extend Jframe. Now we hear the complaints from the IDE, or see them with the little red underscore there, and if we hover over we can see it can't find Jframe, so we've got to do some more imports basically. So we'll import Jframe from the Swing library, and we can see we're building up our imports here, and we can see that the distress of the IDE has gone away. If we run this now, we won't actually see anything, and the reason for that is we haven't made it visible. So we're going to have to start addressing the form and actually dressing the form in a sense. What we need to do is, or are these three things. First of all, I'm going to put them in here. They're in the wrong place, but I just want you to see what I'm thinking. We want to set the title of the form or frame to something like Jframe key events moving a button example. We want to make it visible, and we want to add a key listener. This means we want this class to be involved, and what we're missing is of course the constructor. So we need to wrap the constructor around this. A default constructor is fine, so we're going to do a default constructor. So it's going to be public, and a constructor can't return anything, so we're going to just copy the name of the class, and there we have it, and we're just going to wrap it what we wrote before in there. So now we've got a constructor, and we can hope that this addresses some of those issues. So we're going to give it a title, we're going to make it visible, and we're going to add a key listener. When we run this, what we get is this little cutie. I think it's cute anyway. We get a Jframe that is about as small as could be, and at least it's visible. Well, what we need to do, you might like to guess yourselves what we need to do next. Well, we need to add that panel that we've been talking about. So here's how we can do that. We're going to add a panel to be the screen for the movement of a button, and we're going to call it game panel here and instantiate it from the constructor of jpanel. It's screaming it doesn't know what jpanel is, and of course all we need to do really is do an import, so we'll let it do the work for us again, thank you very much, and it puts it in up here. So now when we try to instantiate this, we should get that nice cute little frame but with a panel on it. Notice that I've added the game panel to the frame here with this line here, and here I actually set the layout to null. The reason it's null is because I don't need any layout here. I can just locate the button or place the button where I want. That's really the nature of what we're doing, so we don't need a layout. In your game, if you're making a game, you may well need a grid layout overall, and maybe a grid bag layout for placing your panel, which is with a grid layout inside the frame. But here we're just having no layout at all, thank you very much. We'll do all that ourselves. When we run this, this is what we get again. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to tell it the size we want it to be. Well, it is the operative word here. So what we need to do is say that we want to set the contain pane to the game panel, so we can customize the screen, and then we can set the background to, in this case, green, and then we can set the preferred size to a dimension. Now let's unpack that a little bit. First of all, let's get around this problem of color. Yes, we just need to import the color library, if you like, and here the dimension isn't really understood, so we'll import that too. Notice that there is an instantiation here. It won't do just to have dimension. You have to give memory to the size that you want. You can't just say I want it to be so big and not pay for it in some way with the money that is memory space on the heap. So I've put it to 460, 500. Now actually this is not actually wizard maths at all, it's just by trial and error I found that was really quite a nice little size, so I put that in there. So now when we run it, will we get that little cute thing, or will it actually be looking good and useful? Well, there's one way to find that out. I'm going to just save it, as one should, and then just run it and see what we get. And we get this again. The reason for this intransigence on the part of the IDE is that it's actually waiting to be told things like how it's going to close and what size the frame should be. We've told it what size the panel should be. So we're just going to put in what I think one might even call housekeeping. So here we're saying render it all where one wants it to be at the start and set up for a close down. So this pack method to lay out the components, that's what it's been waiting for. And also to say how it's going to close down, and we're going to set resizable to false. It hasn't been waiting for that. It's just very convenient if we don't allow the player, if we can call the user that, to make it bigger or larger, because that means we have to be much more intelligent about our layouts for a game. Whereas if we keep it to one fixed size, we kind of don't have to work so hard on anticipating what might be needed in terms of relaying out a game. Anyway, so that's why we do that. And this set location relative to null centers the window. This is not at all intuitive, is it? But that's how you center it. In this part here, I'm just going to bash that down a little bit. In here, we've got to do something with the button. We've got to add the button. So we haven't really forgotten it. It's just that at the moment I'm a little bit fed up with when I run the program I don't see anything bigger than that little cute thing. So now if I save it and run it, if I get rid of the one that's running, because you can't see that, but there is I've left one running, and what we see is this, which is what we wanted to see all along. Notice we've got a title in the frame or form, and we've got the panel which we gave a preferred size to, and now we've packed that and it's able to show us what we've made. We're going to place a button into that panel or onto that panel, and that's what we're going to move around, and we'll do that in the next tutorial.